Welcome to our May 2026 Ask the Trainer. Today we are going to be talking about the difference between our classic Maximo Start Centers that everybody's been using since version 5 and the new Maximo Application Suite dashboards. I do know we have quite a few new people on today, and I have an updated slide, so I just want to introduce myself really quick. My name is Ann Antonelli. We also have Gwen Colbeth on our call today. Gwen and I run technology training and consulting. We are a Maximo training company. We are also an IBM Silver Business Partner. I updated my slide because I passed the inventory management certification exam when I was at Go Maximo at the end of April. So I just wanted to let everyone know that to look out for a certification course for that test as well. We also did our training on our very first work management certification workshop, and I'll be doing another one privately for one of my clients coming up here in a couple of weeks. So if you are interested in looking at some of these associate certificates through IBM, they're awesome in that they really focus on the part of Maximo that you use. So it's not like the implementation test where you have to know everything from creating users and security groups to how does the reorder process run, to how do rotating assets work, and how does purchasing. You don't have to know it all. Work management stays very focused on everything to do with work order tracking. And inventory management is very focused on everything in inventory training. So as people come on, if you guys could just go ahead and mute yourself, that would be extremely helpful for us. We do have a lot of people coming on today. So let's go ahead and get started. Our agenda today is to take a look at an overview of the Start Centers. Not every organization uses Start Center templates and standard Start Centers across Maximo, but a good majority of them do. So we'll be taking a look at those and then introducing what IBM has done to kind of enhance the ability for the Start Center, and that is to create what they call operational dashboards. We're going to look at the different dashboard cards. I'm going to show you a quick guide, a desk guide that you can get from us that explains all of these cards. And then I'm going to go in and demonstrate creating a dashboard in the MAS 9.1 environment. I will try to keep about 5 minutes at the end, 10 minutes if possible for questions and answers. And then, of course, at the very end, I have a few slides about some additional links and references for you guys and some upcoming Maximo user group conferences. So for those of you that have been here before, a lot of times that those last two pieces, those last slides end up a few minutes after the hour, but we'll do the best we can to kind of keep it within our 1 hour time. Okay, so let's talk about the classic Start Center just a little bit. So our Start Centers have been around since Maximo 5. They are a way for us to get into our applications really quick with these favorite application. It just click on a link and it goes straight into your Maximo system. Click on a quick insert and it goes straight into creating a new record. Many organizations have used these Start Centers as the homepage for the Maximo system, and some have created some very, very robust Start Centers. In fact, if you attended the analytics and data Maximo user group that was virtual recently, one of the people on our call today, Shannon Stommel, did a whole piece on how complex and in-depth their Start Center templates are within their organization. So people have used these Start Centers to really help the users navigate, to really help them have easy access to records that they need to get to quickly. And with these KPI graphs and KPI charts and all of that, to really see what's going on within their environment. What was difficult about these Start Centers is, as you can kind of see the different tabs I have at the top of this screenshot, Start Centers were originally set up to be based with security groups. The idea was each role within your organization would have one start center, and that role would have all of its rights in a single security group. But what has kind of come about after that is we got a little bit more complex in the way we were doing things in Maximo. And sometimes we were creating security groups literally just to give people start centers. So that's one of the things that they've changed in the new dashboard. So the dashboard, operational dashboards still have the capability of having our favorite applications and our quick links. Those have not changed. The look and feel of the KPIs is a little bit different, but there's actually 3 different options for KPIs. This is the show of a KPI value, and then there's KPI trend lines and KPI charts. And one of the cool things that they've enhanced with the KPIs is now in the trend lines and charts, you can actually compare multiple KPIs. So one of the things that you can do with these little KPI boxes is you can actually spread 4 of them across the top if you're just looking at the values, or you can put 4 or 5 of them in a single portlet so that you can compare them from one another. They've also taken our result set and kind of changed the way our result sets can work. These new work queues allow you to have a list of result sets that each one can be clicked on and it goes full screen for you, or you can set this portlet up so that it shows just the way a regular result set always did, with a list of records and a single query. So they are set up similar to what we have for start centers. We can also have additional ones. The asset management and maintenance management, those 2 come as part of your MAS 9 environment. You'll have those set up. There's also some other operational dashboards that if you have the scheduling tools in there and inventory and everything, there's some other operational dashboards that come included in Maximo. The defect management and the total cost of maintenance, those 2 come in to play when you have additional things installed. For example, the civil engineering add-on has things like that. So more and more as you build out your Maximo application suite, not just using Maximo Manage, our classic modules and applications we're used to, you'll get more operational dashboards already configured for you as well. And then the big thing that we take a look at here is, as we know, we could only do 1 start center template per security group. But notice over here in our upper right-hand corner, now our security groups allow us to add multiple dashboards. So you can have for your maintenance supervisor or for your operational role, you can have multiple dashboards so that they look at every day. You can have all that information up front. And really, these dashboards are out there because start centers were limited. So organizations started taking Tableau, Power BI, some even went with the IBM Cognos application, and they started building these BI dashboards outside of the Maximo system, pulling data from the Maximo system. And to do that, you have to have like a data lake or something like that. And you can mix data from multiple databases for that, but it's not always in real time. The advantage to doing the dashboards inside the Maximo system is now we have something that competes with the capabilities of those business intelligence, those BI dashboards from Cognos, Tableau, and Power BI, Microsoft's Power BI, but we have it right inside the Maximo system. So of course we have access to real data. So that's one of the things that's really happening with it. And the ability to have multiple dashboards for individuals based on still having just one security group with all of their rights and roles, is very helpful. We're not having to give them extra security groups just to give them more dashboards. We can also, within that same security group, we can give them the rights to create their own private dashboards. And in some cases, their own public dashboards, if we choose to do it that way. So that's one of the things we'll be looking at. So when I take a look comparison-wise, Start Center portlets and dashboards, they have a lot of some of the same things. A couple things have been improved. You know, we still have our favorite applications and quick inserts. Result sets are improved with work queues. KPIs are still available. They're just available in multiple different ways on dashboards. The workflow assignments inbox is still available as a card in the dashboard. So if you are using Maximo Workflow, you can still grab that. The bulletin board is not available as a dashboard card at this time, but there is an idea out on the Ideas website to put it back, because there were a lot of organizations, a lot more than IBM realized, actually using the bulletin board for a lot of different things. So we may see it in 9.2 when that comes out in June, or in 9.3 when that comes out later in 2026. It's really, they have to reprogram it in a different programming language to make it available as a dashboard card. But the real difference is what we call these dashboard cards. So what we see is that we get a standard set of cards, and then based on these operational dashboards that are given to us with, like, Maximo Manage has Maintenance Manager and Asset Manager. The Civil Engineering add-on brings in the Defect Manager. As we get more and more of these pre-configured operational dashboards with additional applications that we pull in, then what we'll see is those pre-configured cards are available to us as well. So what I'm going to show you in the demo is I'm going to show you a few of the pre-configured cards. I'm just going to drag them on, and you're going to see how they're already set up, and you just go. And then I'm going to show you how to pull on that same card in the standard setup, so that if you have to do a standard one for something like a specific KPI that is not one of these, you know, PM performance ones, or one that's pre-configured, you want to do one for maybe your emergency work orders or something like that, you can see how those are set up as well. There are a few of these. The value, table, and threshold tile, those require MIF setups. Object structures need to be set up, and some MIF things need to be done so that you have access to that data. Also, the external content, it looks like it's as easy as just putting in a URL and boom, you get the link to the website, except there is some configuration that has to happen to allow your Maximo server to go get that information. So just be aware that some of these do take a little bit more effort than just the end user. But the end user can use all of the KPI ones up here. They can use the favorites, the quick actions, and they can use the work queues. Those are already set up for them, and those are very, very easy for them to use. This is the desk guide that we have. So as we learn more and more about some of these MIF-related items for the dashboard, we will update this particular desk guide. But right now, we do have this 5-page desk guide that kind of explains what are the standard cards, what are the pre-configured cards. Here's our list of standard cards. All the defect cards that you see in there, you may not, if you're in Mass 9 and it's installed differently than the way our out-of-the-box one was for our Mass environment, you may not see these cards for the pre-configured for defect management. Defect management comes from civil infrastructure, and then also the health, safety, and environmental modules. And then here are some of the other pre-configured ones that we have under maintenance management. I've actually put in the where clauses for them so that you guys understand exactly what it's looking at and all of that. So that desk guide is one of those things that I will be sending to everyone as the follow-up after our session today. And then I'm going to attempt for the first time to actually post this out on our YouTube site as an additional item with our YouTube video. I haven't done that before, but I'm getting a lot of requests lately for the first desk guide from our very first January tour of Maximo and Mass 9. So I want to see if I can get these desk guides up there with those YouTube videos as well. Okay, so let me see. Oh, I missed it by just seconds. So I will have to log in again. This is our Mass 9 environment. I am going in with one of my student accounts that I have set up. And this student account is not set up with a lot of rights, primarily just creating and editing dashboards and the work queues. I will tell you that there are a couple of error messages that I'm still getting on my security. Just ignore those for now. It has to do with setting this one up so that they could only do a small amount of things, and everything still works. They just keep giving me these little system warnings saying that I don't have access to a couple of things. So when we log into our Maximo application suite, after we go through our landing page the first time in each day, we're usually presented with our start centers. We can set it up so that we're presented with operational dashboards instead, but either way, your start center is still your little house on the left-hand side, and operational dashboards is the little window right above it. So if you have both, you can just go back and forth between them. If you still have your operational dashboard, but you choose to use your start center for your navigating, at this point, IBM is not doing any additional enhancements to start centers, but they're also not deprecating or getting rid of start centers. They're just telling people to learn the operational dashboards because there's more features. So this is the Maintenance Manager operational dashboard. This is one of the included ones that we get with our Mass 9 environment. You can see here that there are 4 cards up at the top. Each one of these is a KPI value card. So we do actually have a landscape in our operational dashboard where we can have up to 4 columns. And I'll show you how you get these little sizes, the different sizes on all the cards. They come in with a default size, and then we can change it from there. The sizes are not they're not measurements. They're kind of just words. It's a little bit weird, but we can play around with them in the ways that we want to. So with our operational dashboards, our little vertical ellipsis button here, it has a couple of other names. I call it the snowman button because it's the easiest way to recognize it. Your snowman button on your operational dashboard is where you find out if you can create dashboards or not. If you click on it and it only says manage dashboards and you have multiple dashboards, it just lets you go in and manage which ones you can see and not see and what order you want them in. So if I wanted to turn on this one that I did at the ad mug and I want to just pull it up and make it my first one, you can see behind me, that's what's going on. That's what manage dashboards lets me do. If I have the option to create a new dashboard, I click on that create new dashboard and I have to give it a name. I'm going to call this my Ask the Trainer demo. Now, the description field is not required, but it does have that description field up at the top. So it's kind of like your queries, you know, you have the name and the description. I am not going to make mine public right away because if it's public while I'm developing it, people can start adding it to their dashboards and I might still be working on it. So for right now, I'm not going to make it public. I can make it public later down the road because I do have the security rights to do so if I want to make it public. And I go ahead and save. And that gives me my blank canvas. Now, for those of you that have started working more in what IBM calls the graphite applications or those role-based applications, you're probably getting very familiar with this little pencil, especially if you're working with inspection forms. This pencil is our new edit button. So when we first come into the operational dashboard, all it does is show us the title, the description, and that it's private. We have to click on the pencil for us to actually be able to add things to it. Okay. So once you click on the pencil, you get your standard list of your cards, and then you get your pre-configured list of the cards. Because my rights, my security rights have only given me access to the maintenance manager operational dashboard, not the asset manager one, the pre-configured cards I have are only those from that maintenance manager. But maybe this PM performance KPI is one that I'm interested in. I can drag it over and put it on my screen. It's all pre-configured. Notice it immediately shows a number. I can go to my advanced tab and I can actually see which KPI it is pulling the information from. And then I can also, just like with the KPIs in our Start Center where we could link a report, now we can link a work queue. So if I had an actual report that pulled all of those PM work orders in a work queue, in a display screen, because we're trying to move away from, excuse me, we're trying to move away from our printing of work. I could also link that. And I don't know if there is one in here, but I'll just take a look quick. Yeah, all I have is work orders where I'm owners, work orders that are incomplete. I've got some labor, and then the rest of these are all from the reliability engineering library. So I don't have a work queue necessarily set up already, but I will be going into work queues a little bit more in the demo as well. So I've got the first one. It was pre-configured. It was really easy. I click back on my card gallery, and let's say that there's another KPI that's out there, but it's a KPI that I don't see in the pre-configured list. So I'm looking in this pre-configured list and I don't see any of my, I don't know, corrective maintenance work orders or anything like that. Well, I can always create a card as well. And I'm not going to worry about how I pull things on and size them at first, because you're going to see that it's so easy to move things around once you have everything on your screen and you have it the way you want it to look, that right now I'm just going to kind of drag and drop things on my screen. So here's one. It's still a KPI value, tells me that up at the top, but this one doesn't have anything hooked to it yet. So before I put a card table or card title, I'm going to go over to the advanced area and I'm going to select the KPI that I want to work with. So all of these KPIs, I can see I have 5 pages of them here. This is just your list of all of your organization's KPIs. So any, IBM created KPIs that are in here, any KPIs that you've particularly created are in here. So basically what you're looking for is just, what do you have in your system? I have this one for canceled PM work orders. This is one of the things that my job is to track. How many PM work orders are getting canceled? That's the one that I want on my screen. So here I add that as my KPI. If I have a work queue, I can also add that. And back here, I didn't even need to do a card title because it took the description of my KPI and it placed it over there for me. And it tells me that these are the canceled PM work orders in the past year. Okay, so now I've brought on a pre-configured one and I've configured one. I'm going to save just for a second. Just want to make sure I have it all in there, and then click on my pencil again. The KPI values are pretty straightforward. Favorites and quick links. I will tell you that if you bring in the pre-configured favorites, it basically has anything and everything that you have access to. So let me drag it on there again, drop it. Now, it doesn't look like there's much here. Work order tracking, service requests, locations, and assets. But remember, this is based on my security group. If I go to the advanced screen, there's actually a lot of other ones in here, but I personally don't have access to those applications. So that's why it's not showing them to me. So it actually has job plans and PMs and pretty much anything that a maintenance person would need access to. So the favorites one is a really nice one to bring on, pre-configured, because it gives you all of those links and it just narrows it down to what you have security rights with. On the flip side, the pre-configured maintenance manager quick actions, when I bring that one on, it only has a few things in it. And if I come over to advanced, actually it has create job plan and PM. So it does have a few more, but it's not like it doesn't have quick reports. So if I wanted quick reports, I can actually go in and I can adjust the pre-configured ones. So I can add in, I'm going to start, I clicked my plus sign up at the top. I always start with my action at the bottom. And I'm going to search for the word quick. And it doesn't look like it has an action. Let me try report. Okay. So I'm going to try work. Yep, it only has, so I must not have access to quick reports, which makes sense. So I can't add that particular link. But I can add create work queue manager because I did give myself rights to creating that particular one. So I can say create new work queue, and then I can give the subtitle is usually whichever application. Administration work queue manager. And I will tell you, most people will probably not get access to create new work queues, but I did it just for my demonstration purposes. So you can see that you can bring on these pre-configured ones. You can actually go in and edit them. So I edited the quick actions. I can also edit the favorites. I can get rid of these other ones if I wanted to, but I can just add that work queue manager. I can add the link to that one as well. So we can bring on pre-configured, we can adjust them. Of course, they're always going to adjust based on our rights that we have as well. So, and then we can use the standard ones however we need to as well. So I'm going to go in with the work queue and kind of show you setting up that work queue. So I'm going to bring on my work queue and just drop it in here. Whenever we bring on the work queue, whether we bring it in standard or we bring it in pre-configured, it has all of these public work queues in them already. I'm going to save this and I want to show you where this information is coming from. The work queue application is located under administration. That right there tells you that not everyone in your organization is going to have access to create work queues. In order to assign a work queue into these portlets, you do not need to have access to create them in the administration module. Work queues are similar to our public queries. I have learned that they will not migrate from Maximo 7.6 into Mass 9, where you just get work queues for every one of your public queries. There are organizations that have some scripts that you can tell them which ones to go in and turn into work queues, but there's actually programming involved to take your public queries from your organization and turn them into work queues. And if you think about it logically, that makes a lot of sense, because many of us go into work order tracking and we probably have 100 or 200 public work order queries. And maybe 50 of them are things like Ann Antonelli's work orders or Dave's work orders. And guess what? Dave hasn't been with us for 5 years, but they're public queries and we don't know how to get rid of them. There are query manager tools that can help you do query cleanup before you move from your 7.6 environment into Mass, or install them in your Mass environment and start managing your queries in your Mass environment. And if you're interested in any of those, let me know. But basically what we do when we create a work query is we go through a series of steps based on a query that we want to add into our environment. So I'm just going to name this Ask the Trainer demo work queue. And I'm going to make the description the same thing for now. Now, priority, this actually determines whether or not this work queue comes in with some of the other ones is the default. So I can make it a priority 1 work queue, which makes it an urgent work queue. It should be on a lot of dashboards. There's 2, 3, and 4. I'm just going to make this one a 4. It's not that important. Work queues can be added so that only certain person groups have the ability to see them. You can see that it says add person groups that will access the query. If no person groups are added, the queue is public. So if you want everyone to have access to this work queue, then you just leave it empty. If this work queue is only for a certain group of people, maybe it's only for supervisors or only for managers, you can add the person groups for your supervisors and managers, and they will be the only ones that get to see this information. So it wraps a level of security around the work queue itself. Then we just continue through our little wizard. Our default here, because work order tracking is really the only application I have access to in here, maybe assets and locations too, my default object structure is the work order detail object structure. I can come in here and these object structures, these are the tables for the applications that you have rights to. So I'm going to leave mine as work order detail. It's going to show me these are all the public queries. Maybe I want to look at all the closed work orders. I'm going to search on just the word work up here because there are 34 of them. So I have an approved work order list, a closed work order list, assigned work, excluding closed and canceled. So I have all these different ones that I could work with. I am going to say there's actually 3 pages of them here. Work orders to close. That's a good one. I'm going to grab work orders to close and click OK. And it asks me which application I want to launch it in. This is where we can actually say, for those people that need to review or complete a work order, like your maintenance technicians, instead of opening it in work order tracking, they could actually open it in quick reports. So that's why this launch application is important. They can launch it in quick reporting versus launching it in work order tracking. Obviously, they need to have the application rights. And let me click on there one more time, because you'll also see work order summary, which is one of our role-based applications. So we have our role-based applications in here as well. Then we get to choose which fields we're going to be able to see. So one thing I'm not thrilled with, if you're used to creating the query-based reports, or even your Start Center result sets where you're used to putting all your different field names in there with commas in between. The new Graphite role-based application, this is one of them. It doesn't do that. So what I have to do is, like, I start with WONUM, which is my work order number, and I find that one. Then I have to clear that. Then I want my description. Enter. Here's my description. I cannot put more than one in there at a time. If I try to put location, asset, and I press enter, I get nothing. So just be aware that it's a little bit slower, but this is a one-time setup, so that's not too big of a deal. I'm going to use, let's see, the asset number here. And then the last thing I want is the status. And I'm just going to go with those fields. And then you can kind of see, if you need to get rid of a field, you can get rid of them there if you need to add more fields. But that's going to be what's going to show up in my columns for this work queue. So on the second step of the work queue, at the second level, I took my object structure, which is the table I'm getting the data from. I chose my public query. I made sure it was launched in the application I wanted it to, and I assigned the columns that I wanted. Now I'm going to go to the last piece. Add actions. Select actions to be applied to the query line. So can they go in right at the query line and change statuses? Maybe this is because it's closed. I want to be able to do the work closed. So I add that in there. You can see that there is a search here, but right now, these are only the rights that I have. So that's why I only have a short list of them. And then my last thing is clicking that create. So I am going through a little wizard, 3 steps. This is showing me what records show up in this work queue. Okay, now if I come back to edit the work queue again, and I go back to work queues here, here's my list. It shows up, let's see. I see them all. Oh, here it is. Because I named it Ask the Trainer, it showed up right at the top. It shows up right at the top. It's not active yet. I do need to go in and make it active so that I can use it. But this list here lets you go in and click on these work queues and see what shows up in them. So when I came back in this one, and sorry about these little messages here. This particular one, actually, even though I chose it, it really doesn't show me any work orders. So I've walked through creating the work queue, but for the purpose of using it in my work queue dashboard card, I'm actually going to use the My Work Orders so that you can see that it actually shows records. So that's why I wanted to show you this work queue again. So basically, once I was done with it, I would turn it active. And once it's active, it's available for use here. Then I go back to my operational dashboard. And on the Ask the Trainer demo of my operational dashboard, here's my work queue that I drug on. I hadn't configured it yet. I'm going to go ahead and edit the whole dashboard and specifically click on the work queue itself. Now, by default, the work queue is going to show up to 5 rows, and it's going to show multiple queues. It's going to show all these different work queues. I want to show you the single queue work queue because that's more like what we see on our result set. So I switch my radio button to single queue, and then it asks me which work queue I want to show. Even though my Ask the Trainer one is active, I'm going to show you the default for my work orders because that one has data that's displaying. So I'm going to click OK. And you'll see that it immediately comes in. I do need to go back to my Basics tab and name it something. So I'm going to name it My Work Orders. And this is one where I might want to play around a little bit with the card width and height. And this is where I was telling you, there's not measurements. There's these kind of this funky list here. So medium is the current width, which is kind of half of the dashboard. But I can make it taller. So I could go medium extra tall and it shows more. Maybe if I was showing up to 10 work orders. I can also go medium. Let's see. I could go large regular. That would spread it out a little bit more. It brings it across 3. Extra large brings it all the way across 4. So depending on what you want, that's kind of what you're looking at. Extra small brings it in under 1. And remember, we're not going to worry about how these kind of how they look on the screen until we're done with all of that. So now I'm going to save my dashboard again. And one of the things, so our work queues can display just a single list of records, just like our result sets did. But one of the advantages we have is that we can manage columns. So I only get to manage the columns that were set up in the work queue. But let's say I wanted the priority column to be first. I can make the priority column first, and then I can make the work order column second. I can reorganize how I'm looking at this data. And then I click the button again. And now it gives me my priority. And I do have the up and down, ascending and descending that I can work with as well. Okay, so we've done quite a few of the cards. There's one more card that I wanted to do, and it looks like I have about 5 more minutes here. So I'm going to do the comparison KPI card because I really like this one. So sometimes it's great to have these numbers up at the top, but what I like about the KPI comparison is I can compare up to, and I'm going to look here, I think it's up to 9 KPIs in one graph. Now, I probably don't have 9 KPIs of similar type that I can do in one graph, but I do know of 3 that I can do for sure. So I drag that card on. I go over to the advanced. You can do it bar type, line type, pie, and donut. I personally like pie. That's how I used to set up my result sets. So I'm going to go with the pie look and feel on it. And then I come down here on that advanced tab where it says KPIs, and I click on my plus sign. And again, this is the list of all 42 KPIs that I have. And I know that I have 3 KPIs that, actually 6, but 3 that work well. KPIs that look at overdue work orders. I know that emergency overdue work orders and PM overdue work orders, these 2 work well. Unfortunately, this work orders overdue doesn't work, so I'm going to use KPI 10. You'll understand why that's a thing in just a few minutes. But I can choose up to 9 KPIs in this list. When I choose the work order one, it doesn't come in, but one thing to know is in our legend here, it just basically gives you the name of your KPIs, that short ID name. So you do need to kind of know what the KPIs are and what they're looking at, But this is very similar to what we've seen in the past. I'm going to save this. I shouldn't have clicked on it. But yes, when you click on it, it's still clickable. If you're trend lining your KPI, you'll see your trend line. It doesn't bring in the list of records, but it would if you connected your work queues that had those list of records. So I really like this KPI comparison because it lets us compare numbers. And I can, in my edit mode, I can change it. If I don't like the pie anymore, I can just go back into advanced and I can switch it over to the bar chart. Maybe that's a little bit better. Just depends on how you want to look at the data. And then once you have everything set up, then you decide how you want it laid out. So you can kind of see, I have a lot of things going on here, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull this performance, PM performance over here. I'm going to put my KPI title in the middle. I'm going to go down and grab my quick actions because I want those right at the top. And maybe I want, actually that quick action, I don't think I need it extra tall. I'm going to go extra small regular. And then I'm going to put favorites right below it. And that one, again, I'm also going to do extra small regular. And then on that work queue, because I have space going all the way across, I'm going to do the large regular and bring it across. And I actually have space if I wanted to. I could bring in the PM performance card here and put another card there if I wanted to. But you can see how easy it is to manage once you get everything on your screen. So I suggest just get it all on the screen and then decide how you want it to look. And then I save it. So now I have this operational dashboard. If it's all ready and I know I'm done with it, I could turn it to public and then it could be started to be added to people's security groups and they would have access to it. I still have that blank corner in the upper right hand side. I'm going to try to figure out what I want to see there. So I'm not going to make it public. But before we leave this screen, who has questions about these dashboards? Gwen, do we have any questions in the chat on it? I'm just going to bring that screen up just for a minute so I can kind of see. It looks like we do have a couple things in chat. Can you use external data? Jason, that is a great question. Yes, there is a limited amount of external data that you can use. It has to be set up in some form through the MIF. I'm still learning about it myself, but that's where external content and the threshold tile and the value comes in. So the 3 cards, if I just go back here and I go into edit, this external content card, if I were to drag it on here and just drop it here, you'll see in here, you need to do a URL to the content. There's also a threshold tile and a value tile where you actually go in and you have to find your data source. So those can bring in some limited amount. Now, I am not 100% sure if you can go as far as you do with your BI tools like Tableau, Cognos, and Power BI from Microsoft, where you can actually combine data based on primary keys, like from your financial software based on your work order number or your asset number. I'm not sure on that, but I do know that in 9.2, there are going to be a couple of extra new configuration type cards coming in. We did get some information at our West Mountain Mug about those, about the different dashboard cards. So my assumption is that they're going to continue to build it out further and further. one of the things you can for sure bring in right now is any other data from any of your other application suite applications. So for any of the organizations running Monitor, Predict, visual inspections, or even like the MREF, the Tririga portion that's gone into Maximo application suite, all of that data can be seen on these operational dashboards. So I do know you can bring that data in. I'm just not sure about bringing in data from, say, your financial software or anything like that. So are there any other questions? I didn't see any other ones in the chat at this time.
Yes, Dan has a question. Can you make the dashboard the default?
Yes, actually. So let me save my dashboard here really quick. If I go into manage my dashboards, inside your dashboards, basically when you're here with your dashboards, you can just, whatever you put as the first one is going to be the first one in the list. Now, if you really wanted it, it says here the first item is the default dashboard. There's also, when you create a new dashboard, you can say, set this as your default dashboard. So you can make that new one you're building right from the start your default. And by default, it would also be public, although I say always make it private at first. But there's the default check there. And then once it's in there, just through the manager, whatever is first is considered the default dashboard. So there's basically two ways to get that default dashboard. Other questions?
And so, didn't you mention that at login, I could make it so the user goes right to the operational dashboard rather than Start Center? Is that true?
Yes. Yeah. So I can't demo that, but in the security groups, there is an, on the front cover of each security group is launch application. Okay. And if you launch operational dashboards, it'll launch the dashboard. And here, I can't demo it with my rights in here, but I can demo it logging in, because that's exactly what happens. Glenn set mine up this way. At least I think she did, because I don't remember setting it up. But when I log in as myself in my training environment, you'll see that there's a lot of flashy flash going on and stuff because of everything. But when once I get in, it brings me right to my operational dashboard. And then if I want to see my Start Center, I have to click on my house. And that's done in the security group launch application. Good question. Any other questions?
He has some information.
Where in the security groups is that set? Because I don't see it. And is it in the managed security groups, or is it in the administrative security group?
It should be in your managed security group, and it's on the front cover of the security group. And it's a launch application. It's on the very first screen. It's below where you assign Start Centers.
Okay.
And you just choose operational dashboard as the application.
Oh, that's what you do. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So you bet. Okay. If you guys have additional questions, please email me. I will email you back answers. I just want to make sure I have time to get through the last few slides we have here. We have a worksheet that I can send you guys that has all of these links on it, but these are our additional Maximo resources we like to share. If you're not already familiar with moremaximo.com, it's a community hosted by Navium, an implementation company. And they, you sign up with a free username and password. They have Maximo 7.6 training out there for free. There's 11 courses out there. If you're still on 7.6 and you're trying to train new hires while you work on your MAS 9 upgrade, please take advantage of those. Gwen and I created those videos back in 2021. And if you need the corresponding courseware for it, just email me and I will get those out for you. IBM also has a community called Tech Exchange. If you're not familiar with that one, you should go out and get your IBM ID all set up and there's Tech Exchange, there's a whole community of questions out there. Maximo Secrets is another great website. I have our TTC, Train Your Way website, our YouTube playlist. Anytime I invite a new person to our Ask the Trainers, I always try to send them a confirmation email and I send them the link. If you're not able to make it to these Ask the Trainers, you can subscribe to the playlist. And every time I post a new recording, like I will later today, then it'll just email you and say, hey, there's a new recording out there. Also, you can follow me on LinkedIn. I'm Ann-Antonelli-Maximo Trainer. Some other resources out there on LinkedIn. LinkedIn has become a really big resource for Maximo information. This is just a very small group of things. Maximo Friday Treats by Anna Lee. Anna Lee is one of our attendees on our Ask the Trainers, and she does a phenomenal job of taking real life situations that happen in the plant and breaking them down and saying, here's what we learned from it. Julie Rampello does a Maximo Minute newsletter. She's also doing a lot of work on a new Maximo conference coming up that I'm going to show you. Martin Williams of IBM, if you're interested in certifications, look him up. He's been doing a mentor series on all the different certification exams for Mass 8 and Mass 9. Chris Winston of Navium posts demos of different bits and pieces of the Mass 9 environment all the time out on LinkedIn. And then if you are looking for a new position, whether you're unemployed or just looking for a change, follow Rick Crory. Rick Crory does not just post US-based positions anymore. He is actually the director of the MaximoGroup.org conferences. And now he's starting to post some of the international positions as well. As far as conferences go, MaximoGroup.org is a small nonprofit. That's Rick Crory's group. They run regional single-day conferences. We have a few people today that are in this Ask the Trainer because they attended the West Mountain Maximo user group in Denver just last week. We do have 4 more coming up this year. And then he also owns the Facility Maintenance Management user group. So if you are in facility maintenance, that one is going to be in Northern California in February of 2027. And right now we are looking for speakers, people who are willing to present on how they do things in Tririga and Maximo. But these ones in Seattle, Portland, Los Angeles, San Diego, if you are interested in ever attending any of these, they're only $49 if you register before the day of the conference. And you can get your $49 comped and you can get there for free if you're willing to tell your story. And your story doesn't have to be long. So we just really want to hear from organizations in this regional area and see how each other is doing work and learn from each other. The Fall Maximo Utility Working Group is coming up in October in Bloomington, Minnesota, which is a suburb of Minneapolis, Minnesota, and it is where the Mall of America is. So if you've never been to Minnesota or to the Mall of America, the largest indoor mall in the world with an actual, it has rides and everything in the center of it. I can't remember what the name of that is anymore. That's a really great 4-day work group for utilities organizations, things like that. IBM Tech Exchange is one, it's a premier one that IBM runs every year, and that is at the end of October in Atlanta, Georgia. MaximoGroup.org runs a whole series of speakers during IBM Tech Exchange. It does not get you your travel to Atlanta, but it does get you into the Tech Exchange for free. And the IBM Tech Exchange is by far one of the most phenomenal conferences I've ever been to. And I've been to Maximo World several times. I say that IBM Tech Exchange is actually even better. So I would look at this and almost put it on my next slide, which is the international Maximo user groups. I have the German one coming up next. Anna Lee is helping me with some of these. I didn't have a chance to add anything for July on there. Maximo World is here in the United States in Nashville, Tennessee in August, but it is also definitely one that is attended across the world. I've seen several that have happened recently in New Zealand and Australia. I'm trying to keep up with all the ones happening around the world. So if you guys yourselves know of conferences coming up, shoot them to me in email. I put these presentations together the week of the Ask the Trainers, so I can get those, the information and the links, and then they go out in our links for the Ask the Trainer month as well. Here's another one that is going to be an international one. I don't know if you guys have heard of MaxCon yet, but it is going to be April 5th through the 9th in 2027. It is the very first Maximo and Tririga, or what Maximo Application Suite is now referring to as MRAF conference, and it's going to be held on a cruise ship. It is going to be very unique in that there is not going to be a big exhibit hall with vendors tied to tables. The vendors will be doing a few of the presentations, but it's mostly presentations by user organizations, and the vendors will just be attending those sessions and mixing and mingling and talking with you and answering your questions during dinner and things like that. The way they have this set up is pretty unique. It's going to be each morning you're going to do conference sessions in conference rooms on the ship, and then each afternoon you can do tours and things like that on the different islands. There is one day at sea where you're on the boat the entire time, and if you want to, you can choose to join me in a conference room and get prepared for the Maximo Work Management Certification. I'll be teaching a one-day workshop while we're at sea on how to get ready for the Work Management Certification exam. So if you have questions on any of those, let me know as well. And I am thinking I'm still a couple minutes off, but I got better. Thank you guys all for attending the Ask the Trainer webinar today. And I will be sending out invites for next month on June 1st or right around June 1st. Thank you guys so much.